What is going on, everybody? Blazing here. Welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video, and we have the new Fusion and her partner in crime, who I think is actually going to be a guaranteed, and that's only because the last couple of partners that they've done, one of them has always been a guaranteed, especially when it's been a Fusion. We had Hansel and Gretel, right? We had, what was it, Sir Nick and Lady Noelle, so I'm pretty confident that it's going to be. So save your shards and your soul stones. That's it. Let's jump into her skill kit because I think she's actually really good. And she's definitely being downplayed by some people. So let's go ahead. A1 places, attacks one enemy, places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 1 turn. We get a damage boost with three books. So not bad. Actually, it's pretty good, right? Getting the increased attack on an A1 means any counterattacks you put up, any ally attacks, that's all going to play in, right? And it makes it so that it's not going to screw up your like mischief tank. So the A2 attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weaken and a block debuffs for 2 turns. Also decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 20%. Now, just that by itself is actually pretty good, mostly because we have champions like Ugo for Hydra that places a block debuffs and a decreased defense. She's going to come in and she's going to help us extend that block debuffs and then give us the weekend to be able to put a little more damage out. So far, just on that, her A2 booking it up to 100% on a 3-turn cooldown is really good. But she does have her partner in crime, so if Moto the Peel is on the same team, steals 20% of the target's turn meter instead. This is more of a PvP ability, right? Because you can't steal the turn meter from, you know, Hydra and the Chimera. Now her A3, I am actually a really big fan of. Places a 50% increased accuracy and a 30% increased speed on all allies for 2 turns. Has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. So she's going to give us a buff strip, which is actually phenomenal, right? If Mojo is on the team, I don't know why I call him Mojo, is on the same team, has a 75% chance of stealing all the buffs from all the enemies. Now, this is on a 4-turn cooldown. I like the first part. I like the removing. I like the increased speed. I like the increased accuracy. I don't think the partner situation is going to be beneficial just because I don't think we're going to be using them together. But we will test it out and see. The passive, when hit, has a 15% chance of randomly changing the attacker's hit from a critical hit to either a weak, normal, or strong hit. If Moto is on the same team, it now increases to 30%. That is actually really good, especially for Chimera. If you can get this hit off on the Chimera, especially when he's going into his, the Ram form, right? When they have the showdown. If he weak hits her, that's actually really good, right? We don't have to worry about her dying, so we can make her that target. Now, overall, so far, again, I love the skill kit, but we have one extra thing that just kind of puts her a little bit over most fusions lately, right? Whenever this champion is hit, increases the turn meter of the ally with the highest attack by 50%. Now, this just means that our nukers are going to just go way faster, right? They're going to be able to cut in, and it's actually really strong. In Chimera especially, you want your nukers to go fast. Now granted, with Chimera, most of the nukers that you're gonna have are either gonna be enemy max HP hitters or some sort of mythical. If you have Toshiro, that could work, right? I think Toshiro's based off of attack, but I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure he is. Or Ninja, right? So overall, her skill kit is phenomenal. And then last but not least, she's got an all battle aura of 19% for speed. Again, I'm gonna say it here. A lot of people are giving her slack saying she's not gonna be good in the end game. I think she's gonna be beneficial because again, she's bringing a lot to the table. She's bringing the increased accuracy, increased speed, the weaken, the block debuffs, the increased attack, the turn meter boost, the buff strips. She's going to do a lot of things for your teams. Now, multiplier wise, I don't think she's going to be a, nuker. I think you're going to build her as a really tanky support, maybe in a relentless set or maybe a reflex set. And I think you're going to be really happy with her. But let's take a look at her partner and see what he does. All right, so Moto of the Peel. Now, he is an Ogre Tribe champion. I feel like he's going to be more PvP based. So it's not going to be a big deal if you don't get him, even if he is the guaranteed. I think you're going to be okay to skip him. The A1 attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense for 2 turns. Solid on an A1, right? 2 times, so you're pretty much guaranteed to get that decreased defense on the A1. So it's going to be good. The A2 attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, places an extra hit on enemies under stun debuffs. If Esme the Dancer is on the same team, will always place the extra hit and ignore 20% of the target's defense. It books down to a 3-turn cooldown, right? Now, with this, he's gonna be a polymorph target. Because it's AoE. Now, we'll get to the passive in a minute that kind of counters at least one of the polymorph stacks. But again, this is a PvP ability. You're not going to be able to stun bosses or chimeras or anything like that unless there's a different difficulty coming out where you can. But for the most part, this is a PvP ability. I would not build for the stun, right? I would just really kind of just go full out nuke, honestly. The A3 attacks all enemies, will ignore shield buffs, so that's good. The damage increases by 75% while attacking enemies under stone skin buffs, so that's good. We're getting a damage boost on that. If attacks removes stone skin from the champs, right, grants an extra turn from this skill. So he is positive affinity or neutral affinity to a lot of the champions that would kind of kick our butts in a single target. So he is positive or neutral affinity again to our UDKs and stuff like that. He is negative affinity to Duchess, right? We don't really use a lot of Duchess. It's not a double hitter, so champions like Rotos are going to proc off their passive. And with relics nowadays, I don't know if it's really that good. But champions like Jordan, who are very squishy and people usually put in a 1-turn stone skin, this will come off almost all the time when you go up against them. But it'll be nice to see him go between the A3 to the A2. I think it's going to synergize well. But again, I'm not too fond of saying, you know what, we got to get him. The passive. Whenever this champion kills an enemy, places a stun debuff on an enemy with the highest turn meter for 2 turns, occurs once per skill. Problem with this and all his abilities is they require accuracy. Now, yes, his partner in crime is going to give him increased accuracy, but I mean, you're going to still have to build like 350, 400, which I guess isn't going to be tremendously a pain in the butt because of, a 5-star blessing. But again, I don't think it's worth it, right? I wouldn't build for accuracy, to be honest. I would go straight out nuke. If Esma the Dancer is on the same team, this champion's skills will ignore 50% of each target's resistance. Also, if Esma is on the team, places an intercept stack on this champion at the start of their turn. Okay, so it's the start of their turn, which I don't know if it means he's going to do it on her turn as well, or his turn. I think it's going to be just on his turn. So it's also if Esma is on the same team, places a stack and intercept on this champion at the start of their turn. Yeah, so it's going to be his turn, not their turn. Not both of them. And then I guess that'll play off into the stun debuffs, but again, most of his hits are both of the A2 and the A3 are AoE, so one stack of intercept isn't going to be enough, right? It's just maybe if we had two, I feel a little more comfortable because some people are running at least 2 or 3 polymorphs depending on where you are. And we have an increased attack in all battles. Not bad. Again, he's more niche for like PvP. I don't foresee him being game breaking for anything else other than that. And even to be honest, I don't think he's going to be game breaking for PvP. All right, so what accounts are actually going to benefit from these two champions? Early game accounts, definitely. Mid game accounts, definitely. Centranos, if you're looking to push him, it's going to, both of these champions are going to come in and be very helpful, right? Especially if you can use this, because he's got an automatic stun set kind of built in, right? With the A2 here. So that's pretty solid for Centranos. Other than that, so again, early game, mid game, late games will benefit from both of these champions, especially moving into Centranos. End game accounts, it's going to be more of a fun time to test, right? I could see her being used. I can see Esme the Dancer being used a lot more than Modo. And that's more because she just has more utility. She brings more supports. And for Chimera especially, you really want to try to go as many turns as possible, right? That's the key here with Chimera. So Relentless sets work really good. Merciless sets work really good. So I think for her, she's going to be really strong in Chimera and in Hydra. As for her partner, again, I'll probably go for him because it'll be a catch-em-all type of situation, and it'll either be a deck event or something of that vicinity. But I'm not going to shed a tear if I miss it. So if you're early game, mid game, I would definitely go for Esme. She's going to be a really good support, and you're not going to regret it. Everyone else is pretty much going to be a got you type of mentality, and that's it. So is there anything that I would change on their skill kits? Honestly, for Esme, no. I think she's good. Even with her partner in crime, the bonuses you're getting from that is great. Now, that said, her partner, I think he could definitely use a little more. I would probably go as far as to say you know what, when Esme's on the same team, instead of ignoring the defense, let's make the stun not require accuracy, right? Let's go with the A3. Let's go with the passive. If Esme's on the same team, we'll ignore 50% of the target's resistance. I think that's kind of crap. I would just take the first part out and just put the second part, places a stack of intercept instead of just one. Just do 2 or 1 on her, 1 on him, although I think 2 would be fine. Or maybe the whole team gets 1, right? Because it is going to be very difficult to put them both on the same team and make it work. So I think to that vicinity, he still is not as good as her. So I don't think anything else is really something that I would, call for change. I just think the A2 and the passive here definitely need to be reworked. Well, you guys let me know in the comments down below. Will you be going for this fusion? Will you not? Do you have the resources? Again, I think she's worth it. I don't think he is. I don't think you want to miss out on her. So I would urge you to save anything you possibly can, especially shards. It's going to be really difficult. It is starting on Monday. It's a fragment fusion. Just be careful of the calendars. We know that Raid Shadow Legends does not allow us to have a life. Join us every Sunday, 2 p.m. EST for the Knights of Teleria podcast, where we dive into the world of Raid Shadow Legends, discussing everything from free-to-play strategies to pay-to-win insight, and covering the journey from early to mid-game. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned player, we have something for everyone. Don't miss out on the Knights of Teleria podcast, the only podcast for Raid Shadow Legends. As always, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other, and I'll catch you guys next time.